Urgency is usually manufactured, not caused by reality. False urgency works by compressing your decision window until your brain switches from evaluation to relief seeking. When time feels scarce, people stop comparing options and start looking for an exit from pressure. This is why rushed offers feel persuasive even when nothing meaningful has changed. The behavior is simple and observable. One person introduces a deadline that feels social rather than factual, like needing an answer before someone else moves on. In practice, this means you mention limited time without proving a real constraint and then stay silent. Silence forces the other person to resolve the tension internally. This shows up on you when your body leans forward, your speech speeds up, and you agree just to end the discomfort. If time pressure appears before value is clear, urgency is the tool being used. False urgency exploits loss aversion, not logic. People react more strongly to the idea of losing access than gaining value. When someone frames a situation as about to disappear, your focus shifts from outcome quality to damage control. The interaction stops being about what you want and becomes about what you might miss. This behavior is applied by tying the decision to withdrawal rather than benefit. In practice, this means they imply the option will be removed, attention will be redirected, or approval will be given elsewhere. Nothing has to be said explicitly. A pause after mentioning scarcity is enough to trigger internal urgency. This shows up when you feel compelled to justify yourself or rush agreement without new information. When loss is highlighted before value is confirmed, pressure is driving the exchange. False urgency also relies on authority timing rather than authority itself. People defer faster when a high-status signal is paired with a shrinking window. The brain reads this as limited access to power, not limited time. When someone appears busy, in demand, or about to disengage, their influence increases. The behavior is visible in how they schedule the interaction. They position the conversation as a brief opening rather than an open discussion. In practice, this means they reference other priorities, glance away, or shorten responses while waiting for your decision. This creates the impression that agreement keeps the channel open. This shows up on you when you rush to align, over-explain, or accept terms to maintain access. When attention feels conditional, urgency is being used to leverage authority. False urgency narrows attention by design. When time feels limited, people stop scanning the environment for alternatives. Cognitive bandwidth collapses and only the most immediate path remains visible. This is why rushed decisions feel obvious in the moment and questionable later. The behavior works by sequencing information, not by adding new facts. Key details are introduced late, while time pressure is introduced early. In practice, this means you mention the deadline first, then reveal terms once resistance is already reduced. The listener processes the information while already committed to speed. This shows up when you realize you agreed before fully understanding the structure. When clarity follows urgency instead of preceding it, attention has been deliberately narrowed. False urgency converts choice into compliance through momentum. Once a person starts moving toward a decision, stopping feels like failure. The mind treats reversal as loss of progress rather than correction. This is why small rushed agreements often lead to larger ones. The behavior is applied by getting an early micro-commitment under time pressure. In practice, this means securing a quick yes to something minor before introducing the full ask. That initial movement creates psychological inertia. The person feels internally pushed to stay consistent with the direction already taken. This shows up on you when backing out feels harder than agreeing again. When momentum replaces evaluation, urgency has shifted the interaction into compliance. False urgency weakens boundaries by reframing delay as disrespect. People hesitate to pause when it risks being seen as difficult or uncooperative. Time pressure quietly turns self-protection into a social violation. The behavior works by attaching urgency to identity rather than logistics. The other person implies that hesitation signals lack of seriousness, confidence, or status. In practice, this means they say or imply that decisive people move fast while others miss out. You are no longer deciding, you are defending how you are perceived. This shifts the pressure from the offer to your self-image. This shows up when you agree to avoid seeming weak or slow. When delay feels socially risky, urgency is being used to erode boundaries. False urgency hijacks emotional regulation before reasoning begins. The body reacts to time pressure with mild stress and arousal. This state prioritizes immediate resolution over long-term accuracy. People mistake this physiological push for intuition or clarity. The behavior is applied by escalating pace rather than content. Speech speeds up, options are framed quickly, and pauses are removed. In practice, this means you talk faster, interrupt less, and give the other person no recovery space. Their nervous system does the work for you. This shows up on you when you feel tense but oddly certain. When calm disappears without new information, urgency has taken control. False urgency disguises manipulation as responsiveness. People are taught that fast replies signal competence and respect. Urgency exploits this by making hesitation look like disengagement. The interaction becomes about proving attentiveness, not making a decision. The behavior is applied by rewarding speed with approval cues. Quick responses are met with warmth, while pauses are met with distance. In practice, this means you respond immediately, then soften or withdraw when they slow down. The other person learns to move faster to keep alignment. This shows up on you when silence feels dangerous and instant replies feel necessary. When speed is rewarded more than accuracy, urgency is shaping behavior. False urgency is reinforced by social comparison cues. People move faster when they believe others are already deciding. The brain treats imagined competition as a real threat. Scarcity feels more urgent when someone else might take your place. The behavior is applied by referencing parallel interest without specifics. Another call pending, another option waiting, another person ready to act. In practice, this means you casually mention alternatives while keeping details vague. The listener fills the gaps with their own anxiety. This shows up on you when you accelerate to avoid being outpaced. When imagined rivals push your timing, urgency is being socially engineered. False urgency ends by collapsing reflection entirely. When pressure has done its work, thinking feels unnecessary and even obstructive. The decision no longer feels chosen, it feels inevitable. This is the final shift, where agreement happens without internal dialogue. The behavior is applied by closing the interaction immediately after movement. In practice, this means confirming, thanking, or progressing before questions surface. There is no space left to reassess or rewind. The body relaxes only after commitment is locked in. This shows up when clarity arrives too late to change anything. By the time you notice the pressure, the moment to pause is already gone.